Okay, everybody, it is Saturday, August 22nd. New venue alert. I'm at a new venue in a new town seeing a new show. So I'm at the Richmond Hill Players Barn. I don't know if barn is in the name. The Richmond Hill Players Theater in Geneseo, Illinois. This venue has been on my radar for a while. None of the shows have really stuck out to me. This show has a word that I don't know how to pronounce. Lapin. I don't know if it's Lapin, Lapin. I don't know. But it's Picasso at the Lapin Agile. Written by Steve Martin. So that's like my one entry point of familiarity. But the last show by Steve Martin that I saw was called Bright Star, and my assumption was, oh, Steve Martin's funny, this should be a funny show. Not the case. It was a good show, but it was very depressing and put me in a real bad, not a bad mood, but like a low emotional state for quite a while afterwards. So I don't really, this one, based on the artwork in the promotions, not the promotions, but like the kind of the logo for it, it seems like it'll be more lighthearted, but I'm going to try to not have that expectation so that I won't be disappointed if it's not that. I was trying to figure out the last time that I went to, I'm very early, so I'm just going to chat for a while. Trying to figure out the last time that I was at a new venue, and it kind of depends on what you count. Because technically the last time I saw a show at a new venue was my show, The Monkey's Paw. I don't think that counts. Before that, a couple weeks before that, I went and saw Hunchback. But that was Cornstalk, and I'd seen multiple shows at Cornstalk by that point, at least 3. But all the ones that I had seen before were at the Lab Theater. And Hunchback was supposed to be like a tent show, but they're redoing their tent. So it was held at the ICC Performing Arts Center. So like the venue is new, but I had seen productions by that production company, the Cornstalk Theater, before. And like, not that I'll never see another show at the ICC Theater, but like, I don't know. It's not the same. So like, I don't think of that as, even though it was my first time seeing a show in that building, I don't think of it as like a new venue experience in the same way. So I think the last time I was at a truly new venue, new production company, new entity, was back in April, 4 months ago, when I went to the Vermilion Players in Pontiac. I don't know why I put so much emphasis on the T there. In Pontiac, to see The Cat and the Canary, which I remember being fine, but it was kind of overshadowed because I had just seen The Play That Goes Wrong like a day or two before, a couple days before, and that one was very good. So none of that matters for tonight. Like I said, I'm just very early, but like, this is at a park, Richmond Hill Park, so there's like quite a few cars here already, even though I'm 45 minutes early. So I'm like, I don't know if these are just people that are in the show or like family members, or if they're just people at the park. Some of them are like I'm on a stretch right now that like the park's behind me, but like I'm looking at the parking lot next to the barn, and there's 8, 9 cars in there. So I don't know what's going on, but there's no assigned seating, so I better go in so that I can find a good seat as soon as I can. So here's hoping this one doesn't make me as depressed as the last Steve Martin show, but we'll find out. Okay, everybody, today we are talking about Picasso at the, I still don't know how to say it, Lapin Agile, I think is kind of how they said it. I'm going to call it the Agile Rabbit. Picasso at the Agile Rabbit. Man, I am just 0-2 on Steve Martin Plays. I did not enjoy this one, like, almost at all. Um, I am not conceited enough to think that I am funnier than Steve Martin, but this was called a comedy. On the sign out front, it said a comedy by Steve Martin. So that's the one good thing I can say about it, is that it didn't make me deeply depressed like Bright Star did, but I did not laugh or chuckle or exhale through my nose in a humorous fashion a single time in the entire play. And I'm not saying that as some kind of brag or anything like that. I did not find any of it funny. A lot of the crowd did. It's not like Puffs where it was mostly two people. A lot of the crowd laughed a lot. Nothing in the show made me even close to laughing. The humor in it, I guess if that's the style of humor you enjoy, I guess it was probably well done based on the crowd reaction, but it's just not the type of humor I enjoy. It's a lot of non sequiturs, a lot of like anti jokes, just like lots of setup and build up for no punchline, and like that's the joke. And I just felt like I was wasting my time. I considered getting up and leaving it at one point. They told us, and it said in the program, I think, but I know they told us that it was less than 90 minutes with no intermission. And the show started, start time was 7:30. They did a couple announcements. It started at 7:31. By 8:04, I was checking my watch. I'm like, I am so bored with this show. Like I said, other people seem to enjoy it, so I don't know what's missing from my brain. Maybe if I was more familiar with Picasso or Einstein, or if I cared about them or their works more, I might have enjoyed this more. I don't know. I love Million Dollar Quartet. And this seems like just a really weak version of that. So Million Dollar Quartet, if you're not familiar, I feel bad because I always forget the fourth guy's name. But it's the story, a supposedly true story, or at least like inspired by one real day, where Johnny Cash, Elvis Presley, Jerry Lee Lewis, and a fourth guy. I want to say Paul something. I can't remember. I never remember the fourth guy's name. I'm pretty sure it's the guy who wrote Blue Suede Shoes before Elvis kind of did his thing with it. I don't know for sure though. Don't quote me on that. But four great musicians. They're all in the studio at the same time. Right? And I'm not even like a fan of Elvis or Johnny Cash or country music, but like the music is fantastic. And I saw it in Chicago somewhere on a school trip as an adult, as a chaperone. But I didn't like plan the trip, so I don't remember where it was. But the music was fantastic. The performers were fantastic. The guy playing Jerry Lee Lewis was playing the piano with his feet and upside down and standing on top, and like it was awesome. It was incredible. Take that concept, and instead of four characters interacting, it's basically two. There's a lot of other characters there, but they don't really matter. So it's Picasso, an artist, and Einstein, a scientist. So it's only two characters playing off of each other, really. And they're not in the same field. So they're not working collaboratively. And also, there's no actual art. There's no actual, Million Dollar Quartet. You've got the music there. You don't see Picasso paint anything. You don't see Einstein come up with like he writes down formulas, but like it's not there's no spectacle there. So I'm trying to think of like a good example, but a good example wouldn't be how I feel about this. It would be a bad example. So a bad example would be like, imagine if, I don't know, one of the guys from NSYNC that's not Joey Fatone or Justin Timberlake, or one of them is Nick, maybe? I don't know. Like, the guy that you don't know the name of from NSYNC, imagine he and, like, some fashion designer who you've never heard of, or, I don't know, someone who works for, I don't know, Louis Vuitton, happen to be in a coffee shop at the same time. Like, there's no plot. It's I I feel like my feelings about this play are probably how a lot of people that don't like plays feel about any play, but like it's just people talking for 90 minutes. There's no plot. Nothing happens. There's a couple like character interactions that are kind of interesting, but they don't matter. So like they're in this bar, and the bartender's got a wife that works there, and like over an hour into the show, which is an hour and a half long, it's revealed that the wife is having an affair with Picasso. But like it doesn't matter. That doesn't lead to anything. It's just there. The accents are really inconsistent, and like I kind of get it, but you know, so it takes place in France. So most of the characters are French. All of the French characters are just speaking with their normal voices, which is fine, right? Translation convention. Maybe they can't all do a French accent, so it's just simpler to say, okay, everyone just use your own voice. But the guy playing Einstein is speaking in a German accent. And again, it's just like, okay, right? Obviously, he'd either be speaking German or speaking French in a German accent, but we, the audience, are speak English, so he's speaking English with a German accent. Fine. But then there's Picasso, who is Spanish. I don't know if this guy was trying to do a Spanish accent or if that's just the way he talks. It wasn't a Spanish accent. So you've got this inconsistency between the two foreigners. One of them is speaking in an accent from the land he's from. One of them is not. Or at least doesn't read as Spanish to me. But then to take it even further, before Picasso comes into the play, another character who has met Picasso is telling stories of when she met him and when she talked to him, and she's an admirer. And she imitates him. Like, and then he said this, blah, 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 blah. And that's just how he said it. And she's like telling the story. And when she imitates him, she is using a Spanish accent, which is not how the actor playing Picasso speaks. So, like, in a better show, let me rephrase. In a show that I enjoyed more, I wouldn't care as much, but that was just kind of distracting to me. Like I said, a lot of the jokes are just nothing. I can't remember most of them. Literally, one of the jokes is just that one of the men is kind of old and he has to pee a lot. And, like, several times throughout the show, oh, I gotta pee. And he walks off stage and the crowd laughs. And I'm like, is that funny? That's just a thing, right? And at one point, there's one section where, like, Picasso is like, don't you have to pee? And he's like, no. Oh, there it is. And then I don't know if it's at that moment or a different moment, but there's another joke where he has to go pee, and he says, what are you putting in these drinks? Liquid? And the crowd lost their mind. Like, that's not a funny joke. there's a very, very long joke. And the point of the joke in the show is that nobody understands why it's funny. And then Einstein says, no, it actually is funny. And they're like, but you didn't laugh. And he's like, yes, I did. And they're like, no, you didn't. And he's like, well, I haven't laughed yet, but I did in the future. Because it's an icebox joke. And then he explains the concept of, like, what we call fridging, where, like, you think of something later when you're at the fridge and then you laugh about it. But, like, the joke's not funny, and it's really long. It's almost like a Norm Macdonald joke that goes nowhere. But, like, those, at least there's a comical aspect there. Like, even if there's not a punchline, there's something at the end that makes you, like, reframe what you just heard, which makes it funny. But, like, this one, it's not. And then the characters argue about whether it is or isn't funny and why it is or isn't funny, but nobody thinks it's funny. And it takes up so much time. And the whole play is in real time, which I'm pretty sure I've seen other plays that have done that. God of Carnage, I think, is in real time. But, like, I liked that play. There's another venue doing that one later. I might go see it again. This, I was so bored the whole time. The jokes weren't funny. The characters... so, like, the character who had been imitating Picasso, her name was Suzanne, right? And she had, how do I say this in a family-friendly way? She had some meetings with Picasso prior, and she wanted to meet with him again. And she had heard that he goes to this bar, so she was there trying to wait for him. And she's, like, over the moon for him and ecstatic about him. And, oh, he drew me a picture, blah, blah, blah. And she's telling all these people these stories about it. And then, like, when Picasso comes, he, like, either doesn't recognize her or doesn't see her. And he's, like, talking about all these other women. And so she gets upset and frustrated. And they kind of argue. And then he just, like, charms her again. And then she's like, okay, I'll see you later. I'll be at my place. And he's like, okay, I'll be there too. And it's like this whole... Like, it seems like it's trying to be a character arc, but it's not. And then we get the reveal that the wife has also been with him. And she's mad because he's been giving all of his attention to this other girl. And they're like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't go anywhere. And then, and I'm sorry for how stupid this is going to sound, this whole thing takes place in, like, 1904. At the end, like the last 20-30 minutes, a time-traveling Elvis shows up. Elvis, who was born in the 1930s in America, a time-traveling Elvis shows up in a bar in France in 1904 to inspire Picasso and Einstein, who are, like, already well-respected geniuses, but they haven't done their big thing yet. Like, Einstein hasn't published his book yet. Picasso hasn't painted his red rosé phase big painting or whatever. And so Elvis shows up. They don't call him Elvis for some reason. I guess it might be a legal thing, but, like, it's clearly Elvis. And, like, the wife who's been cheating on her husband with Picasso is absolutely smitten with Elvis. Again, not funny, not clever. And Elvis, like, tells Einstein and Picasso, who, like, he doesn't know who they are. Like, it's, even though he's from the future, it's not like, oh yeah, you're gonna be a great... He's just like, yeah, you guys could do it to the 20th century. And there's this whole big thing about to the 20th century. And then Elvis says that he's a messenger. And there's this big thing with the lights and there's smoke. And then a projection of this famous Picasso painting that I'm not familiar with because I don't know anything about visual art. It's projected onto the wall, and Picasso sees it. And he's like, oh man, I hope I'm ready to paint that in the future. That this guy tells me I'm going to. And it's just like, what are we doing? Imagine if in Million Dollar Quartet, these four musical geniuses are doing their own thing already, but then why not? Justin Timberlake from the future comes back and like gives them their ideas that are going to take them into superstardom. Like, that's insulting. Why do Einstein or Picasso need Elvis, time traveling Elvis from the future, to help them complete the journey that they're already on? I don't. It's so dumb. 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 I didn't care for this show. I was prepared to rant once again about the lack of a program in the program, but it does have this small section here called the setting, which tells you 1904 at the Lapin Agile, a small bar in the Montmartre district of Paris, a place popular with artists, poets, musicians, and actors. And like I said, the whole thing is in real time, so there aren't really scenes, which I think is part of why I was so bored, because it just dragged on and on and on. So I guess that's sufficient for a program. The cast, by the way, is not until 15 pages into the program. That seems strange. And like, I've never done this before, but I was so bored. I counted the number of ads in this program. And like, look, you gotta make your money. You gotta do what you gotta do. There's 27 ads in this program. Not counting, you know, their ads for their own Facebook page. Not counting ads for other theaters. So there's probably over 30 total, but like just local companies buying ad space, there were 27 of those in this huge program. The very first thing is like what I wrote in my notes as the bigwigs, the board of directors, the committees, and then this is kind of neat. It shows you the evacuation procedure. Nothing inside the actual theater tells you which way is north or south. And I had to be told where to go to get to the theater. And then B, once I got up the stairs, still didn't know, like, the doors that you have to go in seem like doors that, like, you're not supposed to go in. It's not visitor friendly, right? If you don't know where you're going, it's hard to know where you're supposed to go. So even though they have this chart, like, if you don't know the place, it's not going to help you. You're going to have to follow everyone. Then we got message for the president, another ad, and then 2 full pages of ads. Nothing about the show or the theater in there. Another full, well, this is the history, and then an ad. And then we have a grant, which is fine. Like, I don't consider that an ad. Full page of ads. Full page of shows at another theater, which, like, it's Playcrafters Barn. I like that. I've been to 1, 2, 3 of those shows, but 4 of these shows taking up this page are past. There's only 2 of these that haven't happened yet. That's a lot of real estate in this huge booklet with 27 ads. Whole page of ads. Then we get the donors, which, like, fine, put them in there, but before the cast? More donors. That's their ad for their Facebook. So again, that's fine. Another whole page of ads. Like, it's just here's more advertising for local shows, ads, and then we finally get the cast. The cast the running time, content warning, and the setting. All on one page, 15 pages into the program. And then this is cool. This is like historical information about the bar. And like they say that like, you know, it's not known if Einstein was ever actually there. So like this, it's not like this is based on a true story, but like it could have potentially have happened. Then we get cast biographies, which are fine. Cast photo, crew photo, like all of this stuff should have been the first couple pages. About Steve Martin, this was a cool read. This is their next upcoming show. Like that, the back half of this program is fine. These are their old productions. That's always cool to see. Another ad. And then another 2 full pages of ads. So like over half of this program is just ads. And the important stuff that people care about when they go to see the show is it's past the staples, right? It's literally, there's a whole half of the program before you get to what you want. I realize some people don't care about that, but it's I like the physical venue, but that puts me off when you're shoving 27 ads in my face and I just want to see the cast list. Also, speaking of the cast list, another like joke that's not a joke. The cast in order of appearance. Freddie, first character, the bartender. Gaston, that's a bar patron. Germaine is Freddie's wife, who's cheating on him with Picasso and also wants to cheat on him with Elvis. And then Albert Einstein. Except Albert Einstein is the third character that comes out. So having read through the cast list, I was kind of confused. And then that's a plot point. There's quite a bit of fourth wall breaks in this show. And like referencing the fact that they're in a play. That's a plot point. They like call him out and they're like well after he's come in, he's introduced himself, he's sat at a table, he's ordered a drink, he's been talking with them, and they're like, wait a minute, you're not third, you're fourth, where's the third person, right? And like it's this big whole thing. So then he goes to the bathroom and then Jermaine comes in and she's like, sorry I'm late, and they're like, you're not late, you're third. Crowd lost their mind. Ha 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 ha, so funny. So then she comes in and she starts working, and then Einstein comes back in the original door he came in, not the door he left out of, and does his whole introduction again. And it's like, oh, ha 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 ha. That takes up so much time, and it's not fun. I'm like, I don't get, it's not a joke. Nothing clever is done with it. It doesn't lead to anything. It doesn't go anywhere. It like at one point the Freddy, the actor playing Freddy, takes a program from an audience member and like shows Albert Einstein. Well, you know, you're not supposed to be here. It's almost like when Cary Elwes in Robin Hood Men in Tights like loses the competition and he's like, wait a minute, I'm not supposed to lose. Let me check the script. And he takes out the script and he's like, oh, I get another shot. But like that leads to something. That leads to him getting another shot. That leads to the outcome of the tournament changing. And it's like a humorous little hiccup in the middle. This didn't lead to anything. It doesn't go anywhere. It's just the joke is that he comes in again and says the same thing again. And it's so boring. Freddy, at one point, leaves to go track down some money from the guy next door before he leaves. And this is to set up the scene where the audience realizes that Jermaine has been having an affair with Freddy with Picasso, because at that point they're the only two left in the bar. And Freddy says, it might seem like I'll be gone for a lot longer than it should take me to run next door and get the money, but hey, it's theater. Like something like that. again, the crowd laughed, but like, that's not funny. It's not clever. If he had just been gone, that's like, it's not a thing anyone would have noticed. Because it's like, sometimes if you're trying to get money from someone, they're hesitant, or they argue with you, or they try to weasel their way out of it. Like, any number of things could have reasonably been expected to be the reason that he was gone so long. Drawing attention to it ahead of time just for a fourth wall break that's not, again, not funny, not clever, doesn't go anywhere. It's just, that's why I said it has a lot of non sequiturs, because like, it's just things. It's just it's you know what this is? It's like how I am in real life, where anytime anyone says anything that makes me think of anything, I just say it. Right? And it's like, if they get the reference, okay, they get the reference, and if not, then they think I'm just saying something weird. And like, boy howdy, maybe I need to reevaluate that side of my personality, because holy cow, this show was to steal from Technology Connections' recent video on water heaters. It's a nothing burger. There's nothing there. There's no story. There's no plot. None of the like, the only reason the characters are moved forward is because of a time traveling Elvis, which is dumb, because clearly they would have gotten there anyway. I don't know what else to say. I looked this play up. Lots of times plays and movies and things like this that like I detest so deeply. Sometimes for a lot of reasons, but sometimes just with this, for just basic reasons. Like, this stuff isn't funny. Lots of times when I go to look it up, it's just like, oh yeah, everybody loves this and it won all sorts of awards for being so good. I didn't see that with this. So I guess that's good, but like, it also didn't say that it hasn't done well. It just didn't say that it has, earned special awards or anything. But I don't know. I don't know how to square the fact that nothing was even close to funny in this, yet the audience was losing their mind. If it's just a couple people, usually I think, oh, maybe they know some of the actors and they're being supportive, or like maybe they're with their friends, they're having a good time. I think sometimes you're more likely to laugh at things when you're with a group of people and you're having a good time. And I'm a loser who doesn't have any friends that want to go see shows with me, so I go to most of these by myself. So, but like, it's not even like with Puffs, where like I was aware that the mood I was in and the mindset I was in and the context that I was in regards to that show affected how I took in the show. Like, I wasn't in a bad mood. I was in a fine mood. I was excited for a comedy. I was ready to laugh. I was ready for it to be different than Bright Star. And it was a nothing burger. Like, I read that. I'm like, I haven't seen every single Steve Martin movie, but like, in general, the stuff I've seen him in, I've liked. But I read on the play that he had tried for a while to get a movie version of this made, and he was unsuccessful. And I'm just like, gee, I wonder why. If people want to watch a movie where nothing happens, and credit for Picasso and Einstein is given to a time-traveling Elvis. I think I've said enough. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.